Today we'll discuss the poem A Tiger in the Zoo. A Tiger in the Zoo has been written by Leslie Norris. Leslie Norris was a British poet and he used to write short stories and poems. This poem, A Tiger in the Zoo, is a part of your class 10 syllabus first flight and it's the poem number 3 in your book. So welcome to my channel, The English Angel. First of all, we'll discuss the poetic devices and we'll discuss the poetic devices in detail when we are explaining and discussing the stanzas. Here I'll just give you a brief description. Personification. There is a personification of tiger here. He word has been used here for the tiger. Therefore, there is a personification. Assonance. Assonance is when any vowel sound A, E, I, O, U. Out of all these 5 sounds, if any vowel sound is prominent in any of the line, then there is assonance literary device used there. Oxymoron. Oxymoron is the two opposite words and which have been put together to create altogether a different meaning. Like the last word of the first stanza, quite rage, is an oxymoron. After that comes the alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the same sound. In the very opening line of the poem, share sound has been repeated. There is alliteration there. And then comes the enjambment. Enjambment means when the poet is saying one sentence and splitting it into 3-4 lines and then putting the full stop, that is called enjambment. And now we'll discuss the word meanings. Word meaning is vivid. Vivid means bright. Rage, temper or fury. Since the tiger was caged, so he was furious. Snarling means growl. Stalking means to follow or pursue, and here the tiger is just he is in the cage, so he is roaming in the cage. That is called that he is stalking there. Patrolling. Patrolling is the guard, is the police patrolling. It has been used in the same context here also. Police patrolling only. Now we'll start with the poem. The first stanza of the poem is he stalks in his vivid stripes, the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. In this first stanza, the poet is telling 3 things about the tiger's physical appearance, his environment, where is he living in a cage, he is not in a forest, and the third is his mood. In the last line, quiet rage, that he is furious also, but he is quiet also. So, quiet rage, this is his mood. So, let's understand the meaning of this first stanza. He says that the tiger is walking inside the cage with his vivid stripes. Vivid means the bright color stripes which the tiger is having on his skin, on his body, and the pads of velvet. Pads of velvet is the paws and it has a padded cushion beneath it. So this is the pads of velvet, and pads of velvet and vivid stripe. It gives us the description of the tiger's physical appearance. So now this bright striped colored tiger is walking inside the cage on its padded paws, and he is in a quiet rage. He is furious since he has been locked behind the bars, but he is quiet because he is helpless. He can't do anything. So now let's discuss the literary devices here. He and his word have been used. That means there is a personification here. And in the first line, stalks and stripes. Stir sound has been repeated, so there is alteration. And again, this I vowel in his vivid and stripes. I vowel is prominent here in this line, so there is resonance also here. And this quiet rage is an oxymoron here, since the two different meaning words have been put together. And the rhyming scheme of this stanza is stripes A, B, C, and again B, because the second line rhyming scheme has been followed in the fourth line. So A, B, C, B is the rhyming scheme of this stanza. Now let's move to the next stanza. He says that he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the waterhole where plum deer pass. In the first stanza, the poet has told us that what is the present condition of the tiger, and in place of that, what the tiger should be doing, that has been described in the second and the third stanza. So, in the second stanza, the poet is saying that in place of being caught behind the bars, or in place of being living behind the bars or in the cage, he should be sliding through the long grass which is found around the water bodies, and whenever a prey of him comes, he should hunt it down and eat it. This is what the actual tiger does. I mean, he is also actual tiger, but this is what he should be doing in the forest or in the jungle. And he is saying that whenever a plump deer, that means a very fat grown up deer comes there, then he should hunt it down and eat it. This is what he should be doing. Now again the personification is there. He should be lurking. He and his have been used here. So there is a personification here, and there is alliteration also, should and shadow. So share sound has been repeated here, and the rhyming scheme is A, B, A, and again B, because the second line rhyming scheme has been followed in the fourth line. So let's move to the next one. In the third stanza, again he is telling, the poet is telling that the tiger, what the tiger should be doing next is that he should be snarling around houses at the jungle edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. What is white fangs? White fangs is these front long teeth of the tiger. These are the white fangs, and his claws are these claws. With and what the tiger does with these fangs and claws? He eats his prey with this. So now the poet is saying that he should be standing around. There are villages on the boundary of the forest. So he should go there, and around the houses, he should growl there and he should terrorize the people, but he should not be eating the people. Because the poet is saying in the third line that barring his white fangs, that means except his white fangs, except then his white fangs. That means he should not be using his white fangs and claws. He should only terrorize the village people by growling around their houses. Here the poet is presenting the tiger, not a violent one, not a man-eater one, just only he is using it as a tool to terrorize people. That's it. So again the poetic devices used here are personification has been done here because he word has been used for the tiger, and rhyming scheme is again A, B, A, and again B. Second is followed in the fourth line. So now the second and third stanza has talked about what the tiger should be doing in place of staying in the cage in the zoo. Fourth stanza. In the second and the third stanza, the poet was telling that what the tiger should be doing. Now in the fourth stanza, again he has come back to the present situation of the tiger, that he is locked up behind the bars in a cage. So now he is saying, but he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. He is saying that in a concrete cell, concrete is what? Concrete is a mixture of sand, gravel, cement, and stones. So this concrete mixture is used to build our buildings. It is used to make the walls. So the zoo and the cage, they are made up by this concrete, and he has been put up behind the bars, and the tiger cannot break these bars. So now he is saying that because he is locked in a concrete cage, and his strength, because he is very powerful, he is very strong, but he can't use his strength to free himself. He cannot break the bars. So his strength is locked up behind the bars. He is helpless here. So what option he is left with, he is only left with that he has to roam in the cage all the time, and he is ignoring the visitors. He is not interested in looking at the visitors. He is not bothered about the visitors. He is busy in his own thought. So again there is a personification in the entire poem. There is personification because he and his has been used for the tiger. And now let's look at the rhyming scheme. A, B, C and D. Bars, visitors. There is no rhyming here. So A, B, C, D. It's only children in the fourth stanza that the rhyming scheme is different. It is A, B, C, D. Now let's move to the last and final one. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Now everything is silent around him in the zoo because night has fallen. It's night time. Everyone has gone back to their houses. There are no visitors visiting the zoo. So Tiger is also sitting quietly there. And the last voice which he hears in the night is the voice of the police cars which are patrolling there. So he hears the sound of the patrolling of the police cars, and then he is just sitting and looking with his brilliant eyes, with his sparkling eyes at the brilliant stars. Stars are twinkling in the open sky. So the tiger is also looking at the sky. He is looking at the stars in the sky with his sparkling eyes. So the poet is ending the poem with a happy note or with a positive note, that with brilliant stars, he is looking at the brilliant stars with his brilliant eyes. The rhyming scheme of the poem of this stanza is again A, B, C and again B, because car and stars. There is a rhyming scheme here. So this is also B and the fourth line is also B. So A, B, C, B, and again the personification is there. He hears, so he, there's a personification here. The rhyming scheme here is the first, second, third and fifth stanza. They have the same rhyming scheme, only fourth has the different rhyming scheme.